Chapter 13, Converging Pathways. Magical City in the Astral Realm in Delgian. Dormitory of Master Juvit Deoda. December 13th, 1998. Allura and Danny sit in the former's room, waiting for the news that Master Hagano has completed his work on Danny's magical tools. Allura picks up a book from Danny's table, reading the cover aloud. Language of the Curse Mark, a decoding of magic's most mysterious practices. She says with a frown as she picks up the book written by Master Kujira Matsumoto. How do you read this stuff? Danny snatches the book from her. For your information, this book breaks down curses and how they're created. And that is useful how? Allura looks at her strangely. In a combat situation, the knowledge could prove invaluable. I'm sure one day that I'll have to face another magician far more skilled than I am. The more I know about curse magic, the less likely I'll be debilitated by it. Allura shakes her head. You're a punch junkie. There's more to being a magician than fighting monsters and rogue sorcerers. She pulls out her makeup bag. Take my magic tools, for example. My makeup could also be applied to actors and actresses for quick changes, or to important heads of state to disguise themselves and avoid assassination. Not everything has to be focused around combat. Danny grabs another book off the table, opening up to a page of complicated spell circle designs. What about this one? Do you think this book is a waste of time too? Cloning magic? Allura whispers, reading the description of the arrays beneath the pictures. That's forbidden magic. How did you even get a hold of that book? Danny shrugs. Master Forgeron loaned it to me. Don't even say what you're thinking. I kind of have to, Allura replies, receiving an eye roll and a loud sigh from Danny. Forgeron is a negative influence on you. Those books have spells in them that are prohibited for a reason. Master Forgeron says that knowledge should never be forbidden, even if it is dangerous. Who gets to decide what is safe for us and what isn't? What's to stop those same people from banning other forms of knowledge they think is also dangerous? This is the kind of thinking that leads to book burning, cultism, and other extremist mindsets and beliefs. If something is dangerous, it just is. There shouldn't be any kind of objectivity. Banning knowledge never leads to any positivity or growth. It is always used to control and oppress others. Shouldn't we be allowed to choose our own path, rather than having it being dictated to us by others? Letting in even a little poison will still eventually kill you. You don't see it because it's gradual, but you are slowly being poisoned by dark magic. It's like the old experiment of boiling a frog. If you try to put a frog in a pot of boiling water, it'll just jump away. But if you put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly increase the heat, the frog will boil alive and never jump out until it's too late, and it's dead. Danny disagrees completely, arguing passionately. Taking in a little poison at a time will build up an immunity. And that's a good thing? Being immune to dark magic just means that you'll eventually become complacent to evil. Forbidden doesn't always equate to evil. No one should have the right to decide for me what is morally right or wrong. It's nothing more than systemic censorship. Allura feels that Danny is already becoming dangerously close to adopting the radical views of the Blackwings as her own. The elders have spent their lives carefully weighing the benefits and downsides to all spells. They've seen the paths that all previous rogues have walked, and made their decisions based on the information that they have at their disposal. Don't you put them on some moral pedestal. These are the same elders that threaten to magic rape me, send teenagers off to die on dangerous missions frequently, and have repeatedly refused to lift a finger to help us out in crises across the world. Danny, that isn't fair. It's not? What do you think of them assigning you to the Jockey Island mission? What? Allura is stunned. What are you talking about? Figures they didn't tell anyone they were assigned. I guess they're leaving the delivery of the bad news to me. The elders reversed their decision to abstain from participating in the tournament. To punish me, they've assigned you and everyone that has ever survived alongside me in a mission to a team. They're forcing me to lead. But it's a tournament. I'm not a fighter, Allure whispers. I know, but the elders don't care. They're using this to send a message to me and everyone else that openly defies their authority. They're trying to silence me and sweep me away under the guise of a mission that I asked for myself. They wouldn't, Allure's horrified. They know that I'm a support mage. I'm absolutely worthless for a tournament. She's quiet for a moment, trying to gather her thoughts in disbelief. But I never once disobeyed the elders. You helped me, Danny says flatly. That's enough for them to view you as a threat. Do you still have a respect for them? Allure takes a deep breath, trying to calm herself. What do we do? Only thing that we can do. We go to Jockey, and we make sure that every one of us wins our matches. Every monster we can eliminate just makes the world that much safer. Is it even realistic to think that we stand a chance? Stand a chance, Danny smiles. After all we've faced as mages, we're the favorites to win. You honestly can't believe that. And Yana's invitation went out to every evil creature in the world. If even 1/10 of them accept and go to Jockey, we'll be facing off against absolutely horrific monsters. With Master Fordron's guidance, I was able to survive against one of the Saints. There's no possible way any creature out there is stronger than that. I glimpsed the absolute pinnacle of evil and darkness. Everything else I encounter could never measure up to that. I wouldn't bet on that. I'm sure there are horrors out there that we know nothing about. Who's to say that even the Saints aren't the tip of an iceberg of monstrosities beyond our very comprehension? I think you're freaking yourself out over nothing. I understand being scared, but we got this. I'm going to lead us to victory on Jockey. We need to have some kind of plan, Allure says. If we each have to enter the tournament, I'm only going to be a free win for some monster. Now, if I'm allowed to provide support between matches, then that's where my usefulness will come into play. I'm not sure how structured Inyana's rules will be, Danny says. I doubt she'll allow anything to openly benefit humans like us. I could probably disguise us as something other than human. Maybe that will ease some of the heat on us. That's a great idea, Danny shouts. We may not be targeted if all the other monsters just think we're more of their kind. It shouldn't be too hard to come up with something. There's a wide variety of monsters to choose from. I can base our disguises on what best suits our body types and facial structure. You'll have to disguise the other members of the team as well, Danny says. Will you be able to pull that off? Who else are the elders sending? Well, I don't want to sound conspiratorial or anything, but literally every provost or apprentice that has survived a mission alongside me is being dumped on Jockey. Something tells me that they aren't expecting any of us to pull off a stunning upset victory. How can they get away with this? Who's going to say anything? If we don't come back from Jockey, nearly everyone that even knows about this mission will be gone. Master Fordron will continue to speak out against him, but you've seen how they already won the PR war against him. Hardly anyone outside of his Blackwings trust him, solely because of how the elders have portrayed him. Captain Erisai and Vata seem to be coming around, but it's only a matter of time until the elders target them as well. Any dissension is going to be silenced. We can just not go, right? The elders have now made this an official mission. If you don't go, they'll punish you for insubordination. You know how quick they are to label someone that disagrees with them as a rogue. Is there anything we can do? This seems hopeless. I didn't become a mage here to enter some stupid tournament and get killed. I never wanted to be a fighter. I want to use my magic to help, not hurt. The only way that we're going to put a fly in the Elder's ointment will be to do the unexpected. Roll into Inyana's tournament and dominate. If we not only all survive, but one of us actually wins, we'll be sending the Elders a clear message. And if we don't? If we're dead, who cares? We'll be dead. Allure sighs, still very distraught about the entire situation. You're such a ray of sunshine. Danny smiles. Probably why I've survived this long. We need to get all the members of the team together and have a pre-deployment huddle, Allure says. Everyone's going to have to be on the same page for this one. Agreed, Danny says with a nod. They also need to make sure they're all at 100%. Alcine and Dane were both messed up pretty badly by the doctor. He infected Dane with some kind of parasite. I'm not sure how that is progressing. I'm hoping the medical unit has been able to remove it. And Allure leave to head to the dormitory of Master Tassori Rini, where Provost Zaya Yim is housed. Danny, Zaya says with a smile. I'm so glad to see the Elders are done persecuting you. Don't be too glad to see me just yet, Danny says. They're all still all about making an example out of me. She pauses. You too. You've been assigned to the Jockey Island mission with me. You're kidding, right? I wish I were. Just about everyone who's ever interacted with me on a mission and survived is being blacklisted. Blacklisted? More like lined up for execution. The odds would be against an entire team of knights pulling this mission off. Who are we getting? Masters Forgeron and Graham? Not even, Danny sighs. You may end up being the most senior mage on this mission. To punish us, the Elders are having me lead, with no masters assigned. That's insane! How can they get away with that? Zaya shouts. If we all die, no one will even know it happened this way, Allure says. The only way we can put a thumb in their eyes is to survive against all the odds. I could really use your experience in this, Danny says. The Elders may have told me that I'm in charge, but that doesn't mean I can't use everyone's knowledge as advisement. Who else do we have? Zaya asks. It'll benefit us to really look at our team and manage our strengths and weaknesses. The others who survived against the doctor, Danny says. Do you know if they're out of their medical treatment yet? I believe so, but Provocino is still under observation. I don't think the medical unit were able to remove the parasite from his body. The Elders must not care about that, Danny says. He was assigned to the team. That's terrific, Zaya laughs nervously. Nothing like an unknown alien parasite to act as a variable in our planning. Jake might be able to help us out with that once he arrives. He's had more dealing with fighters parasitically enhanced before, Danny says. Jake? Zaya whispers. You mean Jake Stewart, the guy that nearly killed all of us? Allure nods, making a face. I know, right? The spell that we put on him will prevent Jake from going berserk like before. You hope, Allure corrects. Look, Jake's going to be our closest thing that our team has to an ally on Jockey Island. We're going to need his help if we're going to get through this tournament alive. Most likely, all the heat with Inyana will be on him. If we can steal some wins on the down low, we can gain a distinct advantage on the competition, Danny says. Barring any shenanigans, Allure says. Do you really think that Inyana is going to play fair? She'll do all she can to make sure no human wins the tournament. Who said that we have to play fair either? Danny asks. Your support magic will make all the difference for us. How well do you even know this Jake guy? Zaya asks. You're putting a lot of faith on him. How do you know he isn't going to betray us to Inyana so that he can have a better shot at winning? Danny is firm in her belief in Jake. I know that he would never do such a thing. I'm telling you that Jake is on our side. Inyana killed his mother. We killed his would-be girlfriend. He has less love for these monsters than we do. Well, I'm not turning my back on him, Allure says. Me either, Zaya agrees. I've seen how dangerous he can be in person. I trust Jake completely, Danny says. I've been inside his mind. I've seen his memories, and I know he's on our side. He'll have to earn my trust, Zaya says. After all he put us through before, I'm not confident he isn't a villain himself. Who else do we have? Allure asks. Do we have any secret weapons on the team? Unfortunately, I think Zaya and myself may end up being the two strongest fighters on the team, Danny says. Provost Fisher is a skilled swordsman, and Provost Porter has some powerful spells, but the two of us are a lot more well-rounded. If we're going to be fighting in a tournament setting, standard spellcraft isn't going to cut it. The battles are going to be fast-paced and intense. Physical conditioning is going to be the real deciding factor. Zaya nods. We need to aim for eliminations as quickly as possible to conserve our stamina. Based on whatever rules Inyana sets, we should disable or kill any foes that we can. I'm thinking there'll be a kill or be killed implications in the tournament. I don't see Inyana disqualifying some monster for taking it too far, Danny says. So, we fight as ruthlessly as any monster would, Zaya says. You see the opportunity to end a fight, you take it, no matter what. The trio of Danny, Allure, and Zaya go around to the various mages assigned to the Jockey Island assignment. Surprisingly, only one person turns down the mission. Nope, Provost Zachariah Fisher says. There's no way I'm going. Having been a survivor of the mission to apprehend Adrian Scrimauer, Fisher was one of two mages on Master Fordron's team to be brainwashed by puppet magic and used to attack his comrades. The young man has not recovered from that trauma. He has taken part in no missions outside of the city since that day. Danny nods. I completely understand. It's not going to be easy. Easy? It's suicide. Every single one of you is going to die, Fisher says. Don't you get that? Because I don't think you do. This isn't a couple of revenants or a single rogue magician. By going to that island, you're going up against humanity's greatest nightmares. If you can imagine it, and it hates humans, you can bet that it'll be on Jockey. Like I said, I completely understand. I can't force anyone to come, Danny says. I'd rather face punishment for dereliction of duty than go with you. Going to Jockey is a one-way trip. None of you should go, Fisher says. I have to, Danny says. There are people counting on me. If we let a monster win Inyana's tournament, who knows what will happen? I'd rather take my chances here, Fisher grumbles under his breath. And Delgion won't be safe forever, Zaya says. If a monster wins the tournament, all realms will be in danger. We stand more of a chance defending this city than we do fighting on the monster's turf. I wish you all the best of luck, but luck isn't going to be enough. Come on, Allure says, tugging on Danny's cloak. I don't think there's any changing his mind. The girls leave, Zaya annoyed by Fisher's refusal to help out. Coward, she growls. I can't be mad at him, Danny says. Nothing he said is untrue. The odds are very much against us. We're going to be stronger together, Zaya says. Surely no group of monsters will go to Jockey as a team. Our connections to each other will give us an advantage. Every other creature going to that island is going to be out for themselves. If one of us wins, we all win. I wish we had a way to scout the competition, Danny says with a frustrated sigh. It'll be hard to prepare not knowing what exactly we'll be up against. I can't say for sure exactly, but I think we can get a pretty good idea, Allura says. How so? Danny asks. Well, with a little research and math, I think we can come up with an estimation of the enemies we'll likely face. You mean like a biodiversity sampling? Zaya asks. Allura nods. Pretty much. We can look into what creatures are the most commonly sighted geographically, and which have the closest range to Jockey Island. There will still be some outliers, Zaya says. We won't be able to prepare for all of those. No, but it's better to be prepared for the most likely enemies than none at all, Allura says. Inyana broadcast her invitation across the entire mortal realm, Zaya says. We won't be the only group traveling from afar. With the limited number of ships available, it will be a battle just claiming our ride to the island. Allura sighs loudly. I guess we'd better start researching if the fights are coming a lot sooner than expected. Great, Danny says with a smile. Do you think the two of you can handle that for me? What are you going to do? Allura asks. Master Hagano should be finishing up my magical tools, and hopefully I'll still have enough time remaining to test out any bugs they might have. Are you not going to try and patch things up with Vatus? Allura asks. What am I supposed to say? Danny asks. Sorry I impersonated you in front of your men? Put your job and the safety of the entire city at risk? Want to go get a coffee? It'd be a start, Allura laughs. You won't be able to pretend nothing happened, so you might as well get the hard part over with. I don't know. He probably doesn't even want to talk to me anyways. He did turn me in after all. He didn't have a choice. If he had tried to keep that a secret, he'd be on trial right beside you. At least he is able to help out by keeping his position in the Knights. Without him and Captain Arisai, we wouldn't even be getting this chance to go to Jockey. They'd have just kept you locked up beside Scrimauer and the other rogues, Zaya says. And he did turn in the remains of that Draugr to Master Hagano for you, Allura says. So he still cares enough to make sure that your trip wasn't a complete waste. Danny nods. Okay, well, we have a lot riding on our success, so we gotta be prepared. The first ship leaves in 3 days from California. I think she said there's another ship departing from Japan, and another from the Philippines. If we go on the last ship out from the Philippines, we'll have an extra 2 days to prepare, Zaya says. We'll choose our departure based on what you two find out about the monsters in the area. It may be that more monsters will be taking one ship over the others, Danny says. Those extra days of preparation won't mean anything if we're killed before ever reaching the island. Zaya nods. I agree. We don't need to leave anything up to chance. The more we know before reaching Jockey, the better. We'll meet back up at your dormitory in 24 hours. By then, we should all have an idea of how things are going to go, and still have at least a day remaining for final preparations. Danny remains uncertain. I don't know if any amount of preparing is going to be enough. The elders were quick to send us away, but despite how dangerous this mission is going to be, they aren't sending any masters or knights with us. We already know they don't expect us to come back alive, Allura says. But you said that we are going to prove them wrong. Yeah, Danny whispers. It will be fine, Zaya interrupts. We're going to make it to the island and come back alive. All of us. Lycion, Greece. The city of Lycion, nestled in the heart of the Thrace region, is a place of rugged beauty and untamed wilderness. Its physical appearance is a reflection of its surroundings, with towering mountains, dense forests, and winding rivers providing a picturesque backdrop to the bustling streets and ancient structures. As one approaches Lycion, the first thing that strikes the eye is the imposing silhouette of the city's fortified walls, which stretch for miles around its perimeter. Made of sturdy stone and fortified with watchtowers and battlements, these walls serve as a testament to Lycion's long history of resilience and fortitude. Beyond the walls, the city itself is a maze of narrow cobblestone streets and winding alleyways, lined with quaint shops, bustling marketplaces, and grandiose temples dedicated to the gods. The architecture of Lycion is a blend of ancient and modern styles, with towering spires and domed roofs mingling with rustic wooden buildings and ornate stone facades. The heart of Lycion is in its central square, a bustling hub of activity where merchants hawk their wares, performers entertain the crowds, and citizens gather to socialize and celebrate. Here, amidst the colorful throng of humanity, one can catch glimpses of the city's rich cultural heritage, from traditional dances and folk music to ancient rituals and ceremonies. Surrounding the city are the sprawling forests of Thrace, their dense foliage teeming with wildlife and hidden mysteries. Towering trees reach for the sky, their branches intertwined in a canopy of green that stretches as far as the eye can see. Long ago, in the rugged lands of Thrace, there lived a man named Pelagius. He was a visionary leader, renowned for his wisdom and charisma, who sought to carve out a new home for his people amidst the untamed wilderness. With a band of intrepid settlers at his side, Pelagius journeyed deep into the heart of the forest, where he discovered a fertile valley nestled between towering mountains and winding rivers. Here, amidst the tranquil beauty of the Thrace region, Pelagius laid the foundations of a great city that would come to bear his name, Lycion. With the sweat of their brow and the strength of their hands, the settlers built Lycion from the ground up, their determination unwavering in the face of countless challenges. Yet as the city of Lycion flourished and grew, so too did the pride of its founder. Pelagius began to believe that he and his people were invincible, that their achievements were beyond reproach. In his arrogance, he dared to defy the gods themselves, scoffing at their divine authority and proclaiming himself equal to their might. Their hubris reached its zenith when Pelagius dared to challenge the gods directly, inviting them to a feast in his city and demanding that they prove their divine nature. It was this hubris that drew the attention of Zeus, the king of the gods, whose wrath was as mighty as the thunder that heralded his arrival. In some versions of the myth, Pelagius even went so far as to serve human flesh to the gods, as a test of their omniscience. In response to this flagrant display of arrogance, Zeus descended from Mount Olympus in a thunderous rage to confront Pelagius and his people, his anger shaking the very foundations of the earth. With a wave of his hand, Zeus cast judgment upon Pelagius and his son Lycion, cursing them both for their arrogance. He decreed that Pelagius would be stripped of his humanity and transformed into a wolf, forced to roam the wilderness as a beast of the forest. And so too was Lycion condemned, his once human form twisted and warped into that of a wolfman, forever bound to the fate of his cursed father. The city of Lycion was plunged into chaos and despair, its inhabitants reeling from the divine punishment that had befallen their beloved leader and his son. Yet amidst the turmoil, a sense of reverence began to take hold, as the people of Lycion came to see their cursed founder as a symbol of primal power, an untamed wilderness. Either out of irony or a primal connection to the ancient Therians, the city is home to the largest population of Varkalak werewolves in the world. Worshipping Lycion as a progenitor deity, the Varkalak's presence in the city cannot be denied. Because so many Varkalaks and their cousin species treat Lycion as a mecca, no human force has ever been able to take the city from the Therian creatures. Yet despite their cursed fate, the inhabitants of Lycion persevered, embracing their newfound identity as werewolves and embracing the legacy of their legendary ancestor. In the centuries that followed, Lycion grew into a thriving city, its population swelled by those who sought refuge from the outside world. The Varkalax, descendants of Lycion himself, became the guardians of the city, their primal instincts and fierce loyalty ensuring its continued survival against all threats. Norx Barian, king of the Varkalax, sits on a throne made of human skulls, chewing on the leg of a human villager. Unlike werewolves of legend and mythology, Varkalax are shapeshifters at will and do not have to ever take human form if they do not wish. Also, unlike legends, the bite of a Varkalak cannot turn a human into a werewolf. Monstrum Therians creatures are a separate group of species from the Homo line of humanoids, and can only reproduce via natural means with their own kind. The tribal warriors are anticipating the tournament on Jockey. A Varkalak advisor named Heloth Agion bows before his king. 40 hungry warriors await your orders, sire. Norx stands, tossing the human leg to several hellhound Ajule creatures chained beside his throne. The hounds fight each other viciously for the scraps. Tell them to get ready. We have to leave immediately for the airfield. We have a long distance to travel to reach the nearest ship dock, chosen by Inyana to be able to reach Jockey. Do we really have to travel alongside whatever filth has also answered the Sicaria's invitation? Jockey Island is under many magical protections. I may have eaten a few mages in my younger days, but I still have no knowledge of spellcraft myself. Should we attempt reaching the island on our own, we are just as likely to be dashed against some rocks, or sunk to the bottom of the ocean. Shall the warriors bring along some snacks? Heloth asks, looking over at a group of terrified humans in dirty rags, chained together across the room. Norx shakes his head. No, keep them hungry. They will fight more furiously when the time comes if they have empty stomachs. Heloth also begins to laugh. I suppose they can always eat whatever rabble is on the ship. It's not like they stand any chance of winning the tournament anyway. Not with you participating, your majesty. Norx laughs loudly. And when I return, the celebrations will be legendary. The entire world will realize that now begins the age of the wolf. With me as their king, the Varkalak will sweep across the meager defenses of humanity and rightfully claim their place as the rulers of Earth. Dwarian Castle, Dobrescu, Romania. As twilight descended upon the Romanian countryside, casting long shadows across the rolling hills and ancient forests, the imposing silhouette of a castle stood as a sentinel against the encroaching darkness. Count Dwarian's castle stands as a formidable bastion atop a craggy hill in the heart of Romania, its towering spires and crenulated walls casting imposing shadows across the surrounding landscape. Built of ancient stone quarried from the nearby mountains, the castle bears the marks of centuries of history, its weathered facade a testament to the passage of time. Outside the castle walls, the Romanian hillside stretches away into the distance, its rolling hills and verdant valleys bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. In the distance, the towering peaks of the Carpathian Mountains rise majestically against the horizon, their snow-capped summits a stark contrast to the lush greenery of the surrounding landscape. Approaching the castle, one must navigate a winding path that cuts through the dense forests that cloak the Romanian hillside. Towering trees loom overhead, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers towards the sky. The air is heavy with the scent of pine and earth, and the sound of rustling leaves and chirping birds fills the air with a sense of life and vitality. As the path ascends higher into the hills, The castle comes into view, its imposing silhouette looming against the backdrop of the azure sky. Tall stone walls encircle the outer bailey, their ancient ramparts, lined with arrow slits and battlements that speak to a long history of defense and fortification. Beyond the walls lies an inner courtyard, a sprawling expanse of cobblestone and grass dotted with statues and ornamental fountains. To one side stands the grand hall, its massive doors flanked by torches that cast flickering shadows across the stone floor. To the other side, a series of towers rise into the sky, their pointed spires reaching towards the heavens like the fingers of a giant reaching for the stars. Within the ancient walls of Count Dwarian's castle, a sense of faded grandeur and timeless elegance permeates every corner and crevice. As one steps through the massive oak doors of the entrance hall, they are greeted by the sight of soaring ceilings adorned with intricate frescoes, depicting scenes of myth and legend. Tapestries line the walls, their vibrant colors depicting battles won and lost, heroes celebrated and villains vanquished. The main corridor stretches out before them, its stone floors worn smooth by centuries of footsteps. Along either side, ornate suits of armor stand sentinel, their polished surfaces gleaming in the flickering torchlight that lines the passageway. Here and there, marbled statues gaze down upon visitors with impassive eyes, their stone faces frozen in eternal contemplation. Branching off from the main corridor are a series of chambers and antechambers, each more opulent than the last. The grand hall, with its vaulted ceiling and massive fireplace, serves as the centerpiece of the castle, its long wooden tables and high-backed chairs, a testament to the feasts and gatherings that have taken place within its walls. Upstairs, the living quarters of the nobles are no less lavish, with richly appointed bedrooms and sitting rooms furnished with plush carpets and sumptuous draperies. From the windows, one can glimpse breathtaking views of the surrounding countryside, the moonlight casting a silver sheen over the rolling hills and distant forests. But beneath the veneer of luxury lies a darker truth, for hidden within the depths of the castle are secret passages and hidden chambers, their existence known only to a select few. Here, ancient artifacts and forbidden knowledge lie hidden away, waiting to be discovered by those brave or foolish enough to seek them out. In the heart of Count Dwarian's castle, where shadows linger and whispers echo through the halls, the past and present intertwine in a dance of secrets and intrigue. As the moon rose up high in the sky, casting an ethereal glow over the ancient castle of Count Dwarian, 15 vampire nobles from across Europe gathered in the grand hall, their presence a rare and formidable sight. Each noble represented one of the 15 territories of Europe, their power and influence extending far and wide throughout the supernatural realm. Among them stood Count Dwarian himself, a figure of dark elegance and regal bearing, his eyes gleaming with centuries of wisdom and intrigue. The atmosphere in the grand hall was charged with anticipation and intrigue, as the nobles exchanged polite greetings and subtle nods of acknowledgement. Rarely did they come together in such numbers, and the air crackled with the energy of their collective presence. In the grand hall of Count Dwarian's castle, the 15 vampire nobles stood arrayed in a semicircle, each one a formidable presence in their own right. Their appearances varied widely, reflecting the diverse cultures and regions they hailed from, yet they all shared a certain air of aristocratic elegance and otherworldly allure. Francis Godfrey, the noble representing the British Isles, is a figure of imposing stature and refined demeanor. Tall and lean, he possesses a commanding presence that demands attention upon entering a room. His features are sharp and angular, with a chiseled jawline and piercing blue eyes that seem to hold the wisdom of centuries. His hair, a cascade of silver waves, is meticulously groomed, framing his face in a manner that accentuates his aristocratic air. Despite his ageless appearance, there's a sense of timelessness about him, a quality that speaks to his noble lineage and ancient heritage. Dressed in garments of dark velvet and tailored suits, Francis exudes an aura of understated elegance and sophistication. His every movement is deliberate and calculated, reflecting the precision and control that define his character. Around his neck he wears a pendant of intricately wrought silver, a symbol of his noble status and unwavering dedication to his territory. Beneath his cool exterior lies a keen intellect and a sharp wit, honed over centuries of navigating the intricate politics of the vampire world. Though he may appear aloof at first glance, there's a fire burning within Francis, a fierce determination to protect his territory and uphold the traditions of his ancestors. Gassara Raylan, the vampire noble from France, exuded an air of effortless grace and charm. She has a vision of captivating allure and graceful poise. With a presence that commands attention from the moment she enters a room, she exudes an air of effortless elegance and sophistication that captivates all who behold her. Her features are strikingly beautiful, with delicate yet defined cheekbones, soft curves, and full lips that bear a knowing smile. Cascading golden curls frame her face, tumbling down her back in mesmerizing waves. Her eyes, a shade of deep emerald green, gleam with an inner fire that hints at the depths of her intelligence and wit. Dressed in garments of the finest silk and lace, her attire is a masterpiece of haute couture, adorned with intricate embroidery and delicate embellishments that accentuate her natural beauty. Around her neck she wears a necklace of polished pearls, a symbol of her status as a figure of great wealth and influence. Despite her ethereal beauty, there is a strength and resilience to Gassara that belies her delicate appearance. Beneath her charming exterior lies a keen intellect and a sharp wit, honed over centuries of navigating the intricate social circles. With a coy smile playing upon her lips, she moved with the dancer's grace, her movements as fluid as the flicker of candlelight. Andre Racinero, the noble representing Spain and Portugal, is a figure of commanding presence and unwavering confidence. Standing tall and imposing, he exudes an aura of strength and authority that demands respect from all those who cross his path. His features are rugged and handsome, with strong angular lines that speak to his noble lineage and warrior spirit. Dark, brooding eyes gaze out from beneath furrowed brows, their intensity betraying a keen intellect and sharp wit. Dressed in garments of rich brocade and fine leather, Andre cuts a striking figure, his attire a testament to his status as a noble of the Iberian Peninsula. His clothing is adorned with intricate embroidery and ornate detailing, reflecting the opulence and grandeur of his homeland. Despite his imposing exterior, there is a warmth and charm to Andre that belies his formidable appearance. He possesses a magnetic charisma and easy confidence that draws others to him like moths to a flame, his voice carrying a melodious lilt that hints at the passion and fervor of his Spanish heritage. Beneath his outward bravado lies a keen intellect and a shrewd understanding of the political machinations of the vampire world. He is a master strategist, adept at navigating the treacherous waters of intrigue and deception that define the world of nobility. Viorel Lascaux, the noble representing Italy, embodies the essence of refined sophistication and timeless elegance. With an aristocratic bearing and an air of effortless grace, he commands attention from the moment he enters a room. His features are striking and handsome, with sharp cheekbones and a chiseled jawline that speak to his noble lineage. Dark, expressive eyes gleam with intelligence and wit, their depths hinting at the complexities of his character. Dressed in garments of the finest silks and velvet, Viorel exudes an aura of refinement and opulence that is befitting of his status as a noble of Italy. His clothing is impeccably tailored, each stitch a testament to the craftsmanship and artistry of Italian culture. Despite his outward appearance of cool composure, there's a fire burning within Viorel, a fierce passion and determination that drives him to succeed at any cost. Hendrik Drang, the noble representing Germany and Austria, is a formidable figure with a commanding presence and an air of rugged strength. Tall and imposing, he possesses a muscular build that speaks to years of martial training and combat experience. His features are rugged and weathered, with a square jawline and piercing eyes that seem to gleam with an inner fire. Dark, unkempt hair falls in tousled waves around his face, adding to his aura of rugged masculinity. Dressed in armor adorned with the symbols of his noble lineage, Hendrik exudes an aura of martial prowess and authority. His clothing is practical yet ornate, reflecting his status as a warrior noble of the Germanic lands. Despite his gruff exterior, there is a sense of honor and integrity to Hendrik that sets him apart from his peers. He possesses a deep sense of loyalty to his territory and his people, and he is willing to do whatever it takes to protect them from harm. Elena Vladimirova, the noble representing Russia, is a vision of ethereal beauty and icy elegance. Tall and statuesque, she possesses an otherworldly grace that sets her apart from her peers. Her features are striking and angular, with high cheekbones and piercing white-blue eyes that gleam with a supernatural radiance. Long, silver hair cascades down her back in a shimmering furl, adding to her air of mystique and allure. Dressed in flowing robes of white and silver, Elena exudes an aura of regal splendor and timeless grace. Her attire is adorned with intricate embroidery and delicate beadwork, reflecting the opulence and grandeur of her homeland. Despite her outward appearance of cool composure, fierce determination, and unwavering resolve that drives her to succeed at any cost. Beneath her serene exterior lies a warrior's spirit, and a bloodlust matched by few others of her kind. Ludovic Dragomir, representing the Estonia-Latvia area, embodies the epitome of dark allure and enigmatic charm. Towering over others with a commanding presence, he exudes an aura of raw power and ancient wisdom that demands attention. His features are rugged and angular, with piercing eyes that seem to hold the secrets of centuries past. Dark, tousled locks frame his face, adding to his mysterious and untamed demeanor. Clad in garments of rich velvet and deep crimson, Ludovic exudes an air of aristocratic elegance and refinement. His attire is adorned with intricate embroidery and ancient symbols, reflecting his deep connection to the traditions and rituals of his homeland. A large black coat, several sizes too large for even his frame, juts out with sharp angles around his wrists and neck, and the eccentric vampire tops off this look with a wide-rimmed black velvet hat. Despite his formidable exterior, there is a sense of magnetism and charisma to Ludovic that draws others to him as if in a trance. He's like a snake charmer and a serpent himself, a deadly contradiction. Sofia Kozlov, representing the United Lands of Croatia, is a figure wrapped in mystery and intrigue. Adorned in robes of midnight blue and silver, her features are a blend of beauty and dread. Long, jet-black hair cascades down her back like a waterfall of shadows. Her skin, pale as moonlight, contrasts sharply against lips stained crimson, reminiscent of fresh blood. But it's the eyes that demand attention. Within each iris lies a mesmerizing pattern, like delicate spiderwebs spun in silver strands. These eyes, haunting and hypnotic, betray centuries of existence and an insatiable hunger that lurks within. Sophia is a master of subtlety and manipulation, her words and actions crafted with the precision of a master artisan. Her voice is like honey, sweet and intoxicating, yet beneath the surface lies a razor-sharp intellect and an ever-scheming, devious mind. Gunnar Vonken, hailing from the lands of Scandinavia, is a towering figure adorned in the garb of ancient Viking warriors. Standing tall and proud, he exudes an aura of rugged strength and untamed wilderness, reminiscent of the fierce Norsemen of old. His features are chiseled and weathered, bearing the marks of a life spent amidst the harsh elements of the northern lands. Piercing blue eyes gleam with a fierce determination, reflecting the icy depths of the fjords that wind through his homeland. Clad in garments of fur and feather, Gunnar's attire is a testament to his Viking heritage. A cloak of bearskin drapes across his broad shoulders, while intricately carved runes adorn the hilt of his sword, a symbol of his connection to the ancient traditions of his people. Despite his formidable appearance, there is a warmth and camaraderie to Gunnar that endears him to all who know him. He possesses a quick wit and a ready smile, tempered by a sense of honor and loyalty that runs as deep as the roots of the ancient oak trees that dot the Scandinavian landscape. Isolde von Faux, a noble from the depths of Bulgaria, the figure wrapped in layers of mystery and allure. With an air of otherworldly grace and a hint of danger lurking behind her gaze, she captivates all who dare to meet her eyes. Her features are striking and unconventional, with high cheekbones and a sly smile that seems to hint at secrets untold. Tresses of midnight black hair cascade down her back like a silken veil, framing a face that is both beautiful and enigmatic. Clad in garments of deep crimson and midnight blue, Isolde's attire is beguiling as the woman herself. Each gown is adorned with intricate patterns and symbols that seem to shift and shimmer in the flickering candlelight, hinting at hidden meanings and ancient magic. Despite her outward appearance of refinement, there's a darkness lurking within her, a shadowy past that keeps carefully concealed from prying eyes. Rumors swirl of her proficiency in the arcane arts, whispers of her time spent in the halls of arcane academies, and her mastery of spellcraft. Alessandro Catarsos, representing the culturally vibrant and historically rich lands of Greece, embodies the essence of Hellenistic heritage and tradition. With an air of timeless elegance and intellectual refinement, he stands as a beacon of Greek identity and pride amidst the diverse tapestry of European nobility. His features are classically handsome, with strong, angular lines that echo the sculptures of ancient Greece. Piercing blue eyes reminiscent of the Aegean Sea hold a depth of wisdom and contemplation, while his dark hair styled in loose waves evokes images of the wind-swept shores of the Greek islands. Clad in garments of fine linen and silk, Alessandro's attire pays homage to the rich sartorial traditions of Greece. Each piece is carefully tailored to accentuate his statuesque figure, with intricate embroidery and symbolic motifs that celebrate the cultural heritage of his homeland. In contrast to the traditional image of Greek nobility, Alessandro stands out as a figure of leisure and indulgence, embodying the spirit of hedonism amidst the ancient ruins and cultural splendor of Greece. With an air of effortless charm and a penchant for the finer things in life, he eschews the responsibilities of his noble station in favor of a life of leisure and pleasure. His features, though undeniably handsome, bear the relaxed countenance of one who has known a life of privilege and excess. Deep-set eyes, the color of aged olives, hold a perpetual glint of mischief, while his disheveled hair and unkempt appearance speak to his disdain for the trappings of aristocratic propriety. Clad in luxurious fabrics of silk and velvet, Alessandro's attire exudes opulence and extravagance, yet there is an air of carelessness to his fashion choices, as if he merely throws on whatever happens to be within reach. Each ensemble is accessorized with an array of decadent trinkets and baubles, symbols of his insatiable appetite for pleasure and indulgence. Despite his reputation for laziness and hedonism, there is a magnetic charm to Alessandro that draws others to him like moths to a flame. He possesses a quick wit and a silver tongue, effortlessly charming his way through life's challenges and obstacles with a disarming smile and a playful quip. He's a figure of leisure and excess, his presence a reminder of the fleeting pleasures of the mortal world. Viktor Ivanov, hailing from the depths of the Slavic wilderness, is a formidable figure shrouded in mystery and stoic determination. With a commanding presence and an aura of quiet strength, he embodies the resilience and fortitude of his homeland. His features are rugged and weathered, bearing the scars of a life lived amidst the harsh wilderness of the steppes. Steel blue eyes, as cold and unforgiving as the Siberian tundra, hold a steely resolve and a hint of hidden depths, while his closely cropped beard and stern countenance betray a lifetime of hardship and survival. Clad in garments of heavy fur and leather, Victor's attire reflects the practicality and resilience of an old Rus and Slav folk traditions. Each piece is designed for function over form, with sturdy boots and thick woolen coats, providing protection against the biting cold of the Chechen winters. Emre al-Din, a vampire noble of mysterious origins and exotic allure, hailing from the ancient lands that straddle the crossroads between the East and the West. With a lineage shrouded in myth and legend, he brings a touch of the exotic and the unknown to the gathering of vampire nobles. His presence a tantalizing enigma that draws the gaze of all who behold him. Clad in garments of rich silks and intricate embroidery, Emre exudes an air of regal elegance and refinement, his attire a testament to the opulent traditions of his ancestral homeland. Each piece is a work of art in its own right, adorned with symbols and motifs that speak to the rich tapestry of cultures that have flourished in the lands of his birth. With piercing eyes, the colors of burnished bronze, and a smile that hints at secrets untold, Emre possesses a charisma and magnetism that is impossible to ignore. He moves with the grace and poise of a dancer, his every gesture imbued with a subtle sense of power and authority that commands the attention of all who cross his path. Despite his exotic appearance and enigmatic demeanor, Emre is a master of diplomacy and intrigue. His keen intellect and razor-sharp mind have honed through years of navigating the treacherous waters of courtly politics and noble rivalries. He's a skilled manipulator and strategist, capable of turning even the most dire of situations to his advantage with a few well-chosen words and winning smile. With a mind as sharp as a Damascus blade, and a curiosity as boundless as the desert lands, he's a master of mathematics and science, delving into the mysteries of the cosmos with a fervor bordering on obsession. His chambers and his family castle are filled with ancient tomes and arcane manuscripts, their pages filled with the secrets of alchemy and the hidden truths of the universe. Emre spends long hours poring over these texts, his brow furrowed in concentration as he unravels the complex equations and esoteric formulas that lie within. Despite his deep interest in the arcane arts, Emre is also a pragmatist at heart, applying his knowledge of mathematics and science to practical pursuits and real-world problems. He is a skilled alchemist and inventor, known for his ability to concoct potions and elixirs of remarkable potency and efficacy. The final noble summoned is Miranda O'Hara, a vampire noble born of the ancient Celtic bloodlines that weave through the misty depths of the enchanted forests of the Edelwuldo. A creature of the wild, her spirit untamed by the trappings of nobility and convention, with a primal energy that courses through her veins like the rushing waters of the forest streams. She roams the shadowed glades and tangled thickets of her ancestral homeland, a creature of the night and the wilds alike. Clad in garments of rough-hewn linen and supple leather, Miranda eschews the finery and opulence favored by her noble peers, preferring the earthly textures and natural hues of the forest itself. Her attire is practical and utilitarian, designed to withstand the rigors of her untamed existence and the shifting forms she assumes with ease. With a wilderness in her eyes that mirrors the ancient depths of the forest, Miranda's appearance is striking, yet unrefined. Her features bearing the mark of countless centuries spent roaming the shadowed realms of the Edelwuldo. Her dark hair falls in tangled waves around her shoulders, adorned with sprigs of wildflowers and leaves plucked from the forest floor, a crown befitting a queen of the wilderness. Despite her noble lineage, Miranda is a creature of instinct and intuition, her actions guided by the primal rhythms of the natural world rather than the dictates of society. She moves with the fluid grace of a predator on the prowl, her senses keen and her instincts honed by countless nights spent hunting beneath the moonlit canopy. Despite her formidable powers and ancient lineage, Miranda often finds herself the subject of scorn and derision among her fellow vampire nobles, who view her earthly appearance and lack of refinement as a sign of weakness and inferiority. Clad in garments of rough-hewn linen and supple leather, she stands a stark contrast to the finery and polished sophistication favored by her peers. Her attire is a reflection of her deep connection to the untamed wilderness and the ancient Celtic forest from which she hails. The other vampires, with their immaculate grooming and regal bearing, look down upon Miranda's rough and tumble appearance with thinly veiled disdain, dismissing her as little more than a wild creature of the woods, unworthy of the noble titles and privileges they hold dear. They mock her unkempt hair and earth-stained clothing, scoffing at her refusal to conform to their standards of elegance and refinement. But Miranda pays their taunts little mind, for she knows that true power lies not in outward appearances or empty displays of wealth, but in the strength of one's spirit and the depth of one's connection to the primal forces of the natural world. As the nobles gathered in the opulent grand hall of Count Dwarian's castle, the air was thick with anticipation and intrigue, their eyes gleaming with the promise of adventure and glory in the upcoming tournament of supernatural creatures. And amidst the flickering torchlight and echoing whispers of ancient stone, the stage was set for a night of revelry and rivalry that would echo through the ages. The nobles rarely gather like this, but Inyana's invitation has drawn them all together with intrigue. For one reason or another, the nobles of the other territories are not present this night. There are other vampires not officially recognized by the nobility, but still control significant swaths of land that are able to effectively keep out competition and force the vampiric houses into thin treatises and peace deals. Hendrik Drang is the first to speak, representing the territory consisting of Germany and Austria. I can assume you all know for what reason we have gathered together. Representing the territory of Italy, Vioro Lucesco speaks up. The invitation of the Sakari Inyana. Hendrik nods. That is correct. This invitation was not exclusive to our kind. All non-humans in the world received this psychic message. As such, thousands of creatures are gathering to slug towards Jockey Island in the attempt to steal away our prize. Our prize? Asks Andrea Racinero, the noble representing the territories of Spain and Portugal. Yes, our prize, says Hendrik. We vampires are the apex predators of the world. There's no other being deserving of the Yazdan weapon as us. It is an insult to our legacy to even consider that a lesser creature would claim that prize. The noble representing the territory of France speaks up in indignation. I resent being equated to those creatures, says Cassara Raylan. I am vampire, not some lowly mortal creature. Quiet, growls the host of the gathering, Count Aitor Dwarian of Slovakia and Romanian territory. Semantics are not important. What is important is that all the noble houses need to be of one mind and one voice. We cannot go to Jockey Island as 15 separate houses. We must enter the tournament as a coalition of vampire lords. Only then will our true strength be shown to the world. Count Dwarian is right, says the noble from the territory of the British Isles, Francis Godfrey. We should not be fighting among ourselves. There is a whole island full of enemies just waiting to be drained of blood. We all know that while humans taste better, the blood of monsters is far more invigorating. We should see this tournament as a rare treat to engorge ourselves on rare delicacies. One of us would have to win the tournament, Bural says. We will not be the only competitors. Gunnar, unable to contain his frustration, paced back and forth across the chamber, his agitation palpable. I don't like this, he muttered, his voice laden with tension. Playing into Inyana's hands like this. It feels like we're dancing to her tune. Cassara, her gaze following Gunnar's restless movements, raised an eyebrow in amusement. Oh, but what choice do we have? She retorted, her tone light but edged with sarcasm. Inyana is not one to be trifled with. Better to play along for now and see where it leads. Andrea Racinero, ever the voice of reason, interjected with a calming presence. Perhaps, he suggested, his voice measured and calm. But we must not lose sight of our own goals and ambitions in the process. Inyana may hold sway over us now, but we are still masters of our own destinies. Bioro, his expression inscrutable, regarded his companions with a knowing look. Indeed, he murmured cryptically, his words hanging in the air like a whisper of smoke. Inyana may be powerful, but she is not invincible. We must bide our time and strike when the moment is right. Hendrik, his gaze steely and determined, clenched his jaw with resolve. Agreed. But let us not forget why we are here. We are not pawns in Inyana's game. We are warriors, and we will fight for what is rightfully ours. The competition should not be anything to worry about, says Isolde of Belgium. What is out there that can harm an immortal? The devils have strong magics and psychic abilities that we should not underestimate, Hendrik says. Other than them, we should be positioned to be the favored champions. Can we trust the Sakari or the Yazata? Andrea asks. Do not forget that it was the Yazata that stole this world from our ancestors and the Fae. One can never trust a Yazata, Count Dwarian says. Even so, the opportunity this presents for our noble houses is too great to ignore. We must decide which of our houses will represent our kind as a whole and journey to Jockey Island. Why not all of us? Miranda O'Hara asks. Why send only a few of us? Our territories must continue to operate. Should the unfortunate happen and those selected not return, the health of the vampire community will not suffer. New lords will be appointed, and we shall continue to operate as the most powerful figures of this continent, Count Dwarian says. Elena Vladimirova, her voice like ice, spoke up from the shadows where she had been observing the exchange. Enough talk, she declared, her Russian accent sharp and commanding. I did not come here to stand idly by while others scheme and plot. I came here to fight. Gunnar's towering form looming over the gathered nobles nodded in agreement, his voice a rumble like distant thunder. Aye, he boomed, Scandinavian accent thick with determination. Let us settle this like warriors, with steel in hand and blood on ground. Godfrey shot Gunnar a skeptical look, his brow furrowed in disbelief. You can't be serious, he retorted, his tone incredulous. This isn't some petty squabble between rival clans. This is a tournament of supernatural creatures. We need strategy, not brute force. With the rising tension, Miranda morphs into the form of a wolf still sitting in her chair. I wonder what kind of beings will show up for a tournament like this. No one pays the strange vampire of the wilds any mind, continuing their own escalating argument. Would you like to test me to see if I'm serious? Gunnar asks Godfrey. Miranda continues with her own conversation out loud, separate from the seriousness of the other vampires. Oh, the tournament might bring some of the Fae out into the open. I've always wanted to meet a real Fae creature. Godfrey bares his fangs in agitation, his hand reaching for his own saber. Allow me to grant your suicidal desire to see Valhalla. Isolde, ever the voice of reason, stepped forward to intercede, her tone calm but firm. Francis is right, she stated, her gaze unwavering. We must approach this with caution and cunning if we are to emerge victorious. Rushing headlong into battle would only play into Inyana's hands. Andrea, his brow furrowed in concern, addressed Gunnar and Elena with a measured tone. We understand your desire for action, but heed our words, he urged, his voice carrying a note of urgency. There is more at stake here than mere combat. We must consider the consequences of our actions. Kasara nodded in agreement. Indeed, she chimed in, her voice calm and composed. We must not lose sight of our ultimate goal, to prove ourselves worthy of the power we possess. Rushing into battle without a plan will only lead to disaster. But Gunnar, his eyes blazing with the fire of battle, shook his head vehemently. I care not for your words of caution, he declared, his voice ringing with defiance. I will not stand idly by while our enemies plot and scheme. I will meet them on the field of battle and crush them beneath my heel. Elena, her gaze cold and unyielding, echoed Gunnar's sentiments. I am with him, she asserted, her voice dripping with determination. I have no patience for diplomacy or politics. I will do what needs to be done to protect my territory, not only for some upstart creature seeking to gain power from the Sakari tournament, but also from any of you who might think it opportune to try and usurp some of my vast expanse for your own. We should not be bickering like humans, Count Dwarian growls. That behavior is beneath us. We are superior beings, and should start acting like it. The two of you seem no more civilized than those beastly creatures of the New World that dare to call themselves vampire. Miranda, sitting to his right, still in the form of a wolf, begins to scratch her ear with her hind leg. And do not even let me get started with you, he growls, glaring at the unruly young vampire. Miranda reverts back to her base form in confusion. What? I didn't say anything. As the tension in the Grand Hall lingered, Kasara stepped forward, her voice cutting through the heated exchange with a calm authority. Let us not be divided by our differences, she urged, her tone firm but soothing. We are all here for the same purpose, to prove ourselves in Inyana's tournament. Elena's irritation and impatience mounts. I have nothing to prove. My only interest in participating in the Sakari competition is as a preventative measure. Gunnar begins to laugh, angering Elena. That sounds like a cowardly excuse. You should relish any opportunity to revel in the glory of combat and the blood of your enemies. I will not shy from a fight, but I do have more brain cells than a barbarian like you, Elena growls. This attempted insult does nothing to curb Gunnar's amusement. Whatever you decide to do, I am going to go to Jockey Island and enter myself into Inyana's tournament. A challenge such as this cannot be passed up on. Godfrey, his frustration mounting, exchanged a weary glance with Kasara. It seems there's no reasoning with them, he remarked, his tone resigned. Perhaps it is best to just let them have their way. We can only hope that their rash actions do not lead to disaster for us all. Both Gunnar and Elena dismissed themselves from the congregation, opting to return to their own territories to make plans for the tournament. Now, with all that nonsense having been settled, we must decide upon which of us is going to represent the great houses of the vampire, Count Dwarian says. I do not think we should send all of our most powerful to Jockey Island, Emre Aldin says. I do not trust that Elena will not exploit any weaknesses in our lands for her own expansion. That one betrays her true intentions with her own paranoia. Agreed, Hendrik says. No one bordering our territory should go to the island and leave their lands unprotected. We should leave as much military deterrent for her as possible. And what of the Viking Lord? Kasara asks. He is no threat to us, Count Dwarian says. His interests lie only in his own self-gratification. He will not be thinking about us or of conquest while the tournament is underway. As the discussions regarding the tournament drew to a close, Count Dorian's servants silently emerged from the shadows, bearing a large tray laden with succulent morsels. The scent of warm blood filled the air, tantalizing the senses of the vampire nobles gathered in the grand hall. With a graceful flourish, the servant presented the tray to Count Dorian, who surveyed the offering with a predatory gleam in his eyes. "A fitting reward for our esteemed guests," he remarked, his voice smooth as silk. "A taste of the finest delicacies this realm has to offer." The vampire nobles, their fangs elongating at the sight and scent of fresh blood, wasted no time in descending upon the offering, their hunger driving them to partake in the feast. With a chorus of satisfied murmurs and the sound of tearing flesh, they indulged in the forbidden pleasure of feeding upon the lifeblood of mortals. As the banquet unfolded, the atmosphere in the grand hall shifted from one of solemn deliberation to one of primal indulgence. As the vampire nobles reveled in the dark ecstasy of their eternal hunger, and as the night wore on, the echoes of their feasting mingled with the whispers of the shadows, a haunting symphony that echoed through the halls of Count Dorian's castle.